That year just happened to be sort of the peak of my career. It was an amazing year. I had a solo show of my work in Tokyo at a gallery, and me and Konatsu were invited to come down to Tamanoura to do that piece on top of Yu Yu. And that was the biggest piece I've ever done. So I just felt like that was a year where I was breaking my boundaries and trying new things and having a lot of success with it. And it's it's hilarious because the meeting that we originally had with Kato Jun in Tokyo, he brought a photograph of the top of the building, and he had only intended for me to do a small part of the building, but my Japanese isn't so great, and I got a bit confused, and I thought he meant the whole building, and I thought, why not? And so the sketch I did was for the whole building, and when he saw it, he said, I wasn't expecting the whole building. And I said, well, can we do it? And he says, yeah. And it just led to creating something that I think both of us didn't really expect. And it just turned out fantastically. So whenever I'm thinking about possible concepts for a new art piece, I like to look at the location of the place that I'm doing it, and to look at what it's surrounded by. And the great thing about Yu Yu is that it's completely located in a natural setting with lots of trees and mountains around it. And I definitely didn't want to do anything that would contrast the environment. I wanted it to more fit in and sort of take shape with the place that it's surrounded in. And so to me, the obvious choice was to make some sort of like little oasis. So the water within the forest around there. And also that gave me a good chance to play with things like reflections and to put the koi fish in. There were a number of different possibilities that I could go with if he liked the idea of the secret pond, which he did. And so yeah, to me, it was most important to match up with the environment, but also allow enough room that I could have a bit of a play. If I remember right, I think it was probably closer to 2.5 to 3 weeks. And when we first came, we stayed a night or two in the main city, Fukue City. Yeah, and Kato Jun showed us around there a little bit, and then we came down to Tamanora, where he set us up in sort of a homestay. And so we had a house to ourselves, which was just, right on the road, and on the other side of the road was the ocean, and it was pretty amazing to be in that location. And we had a little car so we could get around, and every day we would go up to the center and start to paint. And because the viewpoint of the piece was, I think, 2.4 kilometers away, it wasn't immediately accessible to check every time I wanted to go and have a look. We would have to take 30 to 45 minutes out to make the round trip. So we decided that at the beginning, at lunch, and at the end of every day, we would take trips up the mountain to have a look at how it was going, which was pretty amazing to be able to see it from that point of view. And then at the end of the day, we would go back to this house and cook dinner or eat at some of the many restaurants that are around there. And one of my favorite memories is of this bus or this van that it delivers groceries, and it goes down the road, and it's got a little jingle that's playing over the loudspeaker. And so to come out. And we would go out and try to buy something every day so I could talk to the guy and practice my Japanese. And it was just great. Like, we would always ask, like, what do you have today? And he would have different kinds of sashimi and little things that he would give us, service. And so it was a really lovely part of it. And apart from working on the mural every day that we could, there were a couple of typhoons that swung through, and we got put off work a couple of days. But other than that, just exploring the area, we went for quite a few swims in the ocean. And one of my best memories is going swimming at night. I think it was like 10 o'clock at night. And we saw the glowing plankton in the water. So whenever we would move our hands in the water, there would be a tracer of these bioluminescent plankton, and it just blew our minds. So beautiful there. During the first week of painting up there, I think both myself and Kato Jun-san realized that I was going to need some help. And like, it was such a massive area. I think it's something like 60 by 40 meters or something. And so he started telling me that there were some people around that would like to be a part of it. There was a young couple, Mick and Saki, and they came and helped out for several days. And then there were father and son duo who are professional painters, house painters, and they came and helped out a lot and really got a lot of coverage on it. And then on the last week, when it was down to crunch time, Kato Jun-san even got some of his employees from the center there to come up and help us out. So, you know, probably there were a dozen people or so up there helping me out. And I just thought that was such a wonderful thing to happen with the project. I didn't really want it to be all about me. My wife at the time, Konatsu, was enormous in helping me out every day. And so it really became, a group project with a lot of different hands coming into it. And I think that the sense of accomplishment at the end was shared by all as well. It was sort of like, we did this together. And I think that's the great thing about these big projects. I mean, not only was it the biggest piece that I've ever done, but the most difficult viewpoint. Like I said before, having to drive to actually see the piece presented challenges that I hadn't yet experienced in my career. So once I had finished it, the wave of relief that washed over me was just immense. I mean, I felt so much gratitude, not only towards Kato Jun and everybody that helped me with the project, but just with, you know, the weather was right, the paint, you know, was right. Everything sort of conspired to just make it one of my favorite pieces that I've ever done. It really let me know that even though I sort of was probably 8 years into my career of doing these 3D murals, that there are things in the future that there are surprises waiting for me in the future, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. Just when you feel like you've got a handle on what you do and you feel like you've got it down pat, a project like that really opened my mind to know that the sky's the limit, and lots of possibilities abound out there. Yeah, I mean, the ironic thing is that it was the peak of my career, and then a couple of years after that, COVID hit and virtually eliminated it. In Australia, it's been particularly strict with the travel restrictions. Okay. And I've been confined to my local regional area where I live, which is quite remote. There's not a lot of work around here. So I've had maybe 2 or 3 jobs in the last couple of years where I'm used to doing over a dozen a year. Oh. And I was telling Kato Jun-san that I've gone back to oil painting and selling those online because there's just no 3D work. But it looks like this upcoming summer, this Southern Hemisphere summer, it looks to be a busy one because in Australia, the restrictions have eased. So I'm hoping it's going to be another big year of 3D art, and hopefully be traveling the globe here again soon. I would absolutely love to come back, and I'm really looking forward to continuing my relationship with Japan. I've been lucky to do a lot of pieces there over the last 10 years. And even though Corona's kept us apart for these past few years, as soon as restrictions ease, I'm really looking forward to coming back to Japan. And yeah, I look forward to hopefully meeting you guys again in the future.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, I'd love to meet you next time you